forgiven. In other words, it's the state of mind we find ourselves in when we think that someone should get what they deserve. They made their bed, now they get to lie in it. We cling to old hurts, and our opinions quickly become justification not to reach out or to withhold our love or simply not be present. Our preconceived stereotypes, the differences in who or how we worship, or social or political values create a sense of separation or even self-righteousness. The oneness of which we are all an integral, equal part becomes obscured. Our worldview becomes an us versus them experience. Nineveh and Syria both represent aspects of material consciousness, focus on the outer, where acquisition and status and a desire for material justice or to appear to be right in the eyes of others outweigh our focus on the potential for spiritual growth we might find in any situation and the healing that situation might actually afford us. When we get swept up in how things look in the outer world, it can be really, really easy to find fault in others with whom we disagree. So Jonah's attempt to escape to Joppa and to Tarshish represents something quite familiar to those of us who have tried to argue our way out of what we feel called to do. As we try to avoid inner guidance, we come up with every possible reason why we are justified in our choice. We feel the pressure to give ourselves in some way, but our desire to be comfortable, to be right, to avoid change outweighs that tug of spirit. Our sometimes hidden desire to be right, that we are unfit for the job at hand, hardens our hearts even further. Our desire to be a beneficial presence is drowned out by the noise of our opinions of ourselves and of others and the conditions that we face. We get stuck in resentments of the past or fear of the future, and we lose our ability to simply be open and available in the present moment. And just like Jonah, we inevitably are confronted by the same opportunity to give of ourselves. And many times, just like Jonah, we only get there after going through some pretty fishy situations. We eventually follow guidance, but we do it with a sense of obligation or somehow feeling forced rather than a simple willingness. Unity minister and author Elizabeth Sam Turner says, when the Jonah state of consciousness rules in us, we may do our job capably, but as love and mercy are absent from our hearts, we are disappointed in the outcome of our work. Jonah begrudgingly followed guidance. The Ninevites were saved according to God's promise, and yet Jonah was disappointed. He wandered into the desert in frustration, and God provided shade. In our experience, this shade comes as a welcome sense of accomplishment and connection to another person, an influx of energy that reminds us of God's indwelling presence, often in spite of our half-hearted efforts. Jonah was grateful for the shade while still being angry with God, maybe clinging to the idea that he shouldn't have been there in the first place. Have you ever found yourself secretly holding a grievance towards someone that you profess to love and care for? For me, such clinging withers that sense of connection. In Jonah's story, the shade plant withered and he began to complain again. God asked Jonah how he could show such compassion for the shade tree, yet so little toward the Ninevites. In our lives, how often are we willing to show compassion to those people or situations that we find agreeable or of personal benefit, yet unyielding to those things that challenge our beliefs, or even more, invite us to consider changing our beliefs? In this story, God continued to show mercy to Jonah despite his resistance. This flow of love that God desired to pour out to the people of Nineveh was still delivered. But Jonah's resistance toward being a willing vessel robbed him of experiencing it himself. Now, for those of us who were brought up in traditional Christianity, this story of Jonah may have always represented the need for obedience and the consequences of not doing so, and perhaps the importance of repentance and salvation. But the underlying story that I hope I've related today is that of mercy. This indwelling presence of God that is innate to each of us offers an infinite supply of mercy, but our access to that mercy comes first from a heart open and willing to give and receive it. Now, I would be lying if I didn't say that quite a few of my efforts over the course of my life, good efforts, giving efforts, were done from that Jonah state of mind that left me feeling satisfied, but depleted. In a nutshell, here are some of the key takeaways from Jonah's story that describe the ways that we in our own lives stifle mercy. When we're asked to do something small and come up with every reason why it's going to be hard, or it's not going to work, or it's going to take too long, or it's going to waste a bunch of time, that is a call for mercy. When personal inconvenience outweighs the possible benefit an action might have, that's an invitation for mercy. When what you are asked to do in effort to bring healing makes you fear being unpopular, or even worse, wrong, this is a moment for mercy. The Revealing Word defines mercy as Christ-like treatment toward the suffering. The important point in desiring to be merciful is righteous adjustment, as this results in true overcoming. Now, I am learning to allow righteous judgment or mercy to overcome a desire to withhold my love or support or willingness to be of service. And if there's ever been a time when mercy has been needed, it is certainly now. As we watch the US administrative transition slowly unfold, it is very clear that there are those who are very upset. There are those who feel unheard and disrespected and just plain angry. And like Jonah, there are a number of people on all sides of this conversation who are upset, who feel that America deserves what it gets. And I admit that I have said this at times, but consider that this rigidity combines with fear and stands to rob us of a larger, more purposeful desire that our governing body, slowly but surely, is capable of guiding us first toward reconciliation and ultimately peace. Now, may we all find mercy going forward. May we be open enough to set aside our preferences and infuse our nation with the love and the wisdom and the strength that we each innately possess. May understanding, yet another aspect of mercy, become a guiding force in all our relationships and all our interactions. I'm learning to see and call forth such mercy in myself, and I invite you to do the same. But how does mercy show up? How might mercy express through all of us here, such that we bring its healing to our communities? What is mercy? Mercy begins by being present to what might be needed in the moment. It progresses as forgiveness. releasing any preconceptions about the circumstances before you, the people involved, and any other grievance that might block you from mercy's next step. Mercy unfolds as a willingness to ask, how might I be of service here? What is mine to learn now? Mercy's first blooms move us beyond self-importance and self-righteousness and self-loathing and self-pity toward a greater truth. That true mercy is not something that is earned. It's not something doled out upon a few, leaving the rest of us to scramble for scraps. Mercy is one of the many infinite gifts of Spirit. It is innately ours and is available to the degree that we are willing to let it in. It's harmony, our ability to be loved in balance with our desire to bring love, to see love, to be love without regard for past mistakes or worries about future outcomes. True mercy is not offered as some prize for behavior. We offer mercy because it is the stuff of which we are made. Mercy blossoms when our personal sense of justice or our need to be right becomes tempered by understanding. It blossoms when we enter into difficult conversations or situations with an even greater awareness of our connection to each other, not putting on this defensive armor we are so prone to reach for in times of challenge. Mercy comes into full flower as that willingness becomes a desire to act. No matter how seemingly small that first action might be, to bring about the world we desire to see, the world that ultimately works for all. Mercy imbues us with strength and perseverance to see that world into fruition. The essence of mercy, this love for all beings, spreads like a magnificent fragrance into those moments. It invigorates the senses, it awakens our innate wholeness, and inspires us to remain open and be grateful for the opportunity to grow. So the questions I would like to leave you with today, and that we will consider further as we prepare for meditation. Where in your life might mercy bring comfort to you, or free you to bring comfort to someone else? How might you be a harbinger of mercy, inspiring others toward being merciful as well? In what ways might a sense of mercy remind you that we are all indeed one? And how might mercy allow you to set aside grievances and ask, how may I be of service here? How may I be of service to the collective healing of humanity that I wish to see? And with these questions in mind, let's move into a time of reflection and meditation.